Hello everybody, so this is my birth story, 2017. The delivery itself was quite fast, so I went into full labor at about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and then Haley was here around 5:30. Although it was fast, it was definitely not an easy delivery. I had an epidural, but Haley got stuck in the birth canal and they had to use pliers to pull her out. Her umbilical cord was around her neck, so when they did pull her out, she was still very much so lifeless and blue and not breathing, and so they had to whisk her out of the room very, very, very fast. And I remember the midwife with her beautiful blue eyes said, "Oh, do you hear that?" And I couldn't hear anything, and Haley was crying, and she said, "Your daughter's fine, she's crying, and they'll bring her in a second to see you." And the next thing I remember is I felt extremely ill, and about 20 people came running towards me, and that was my first of 2 hemorrhages. And so the doctors were like trying to stop the hemorrhaging and get my bleeding under control. And they brought my daughter in, but I was like just really sick and passing in out of awareness, so they took her out again, and I didn't even get to hold her at that time. And so about 4 hours later, I had another hemorrhage, and I became very, very sick, and then everything's kind of a blur for the next 12 hours after that. But I do remember 8 hours after my daughter was born, they brought her to my room, and I was able to hold her for the first time, and they wanted me to try to feed her, and so I was still very sick and very weak, so they were trying to help me feed her, and she was refusing to eat, which the nurse said, "I'm a little concerned by the fact that your daughter's not showing any signs of being hungry, so I'm just going to do an exam." So she took her over to the side of my bed and she started to do an exam, and that's when she said for the first time, I'm having a little problem finding your daughter's anus. And I looked at my husband, and he was sound asleep because he had been up all night and dealing with everything. And then she left the room and she said, "I'm gonna go get the doctor, and the doctor will do an exam, and it's not serious, do not worry." So, of course, the first thing I did was grab my smartphone and I Googled daughter born without an anus. And I guess you could say that's the moment my life changed, and I became aware of the words imperforated anus. I learned what a colostomy was. I saw pictures of other babies, and I found 2 online support groups on Facebook. And I immediately applied for membership on both websites, not even knowing for sure if my daughter had the condition, but I guess deep down inside I must have known. So the doctor came back and he explained that my daughter did not have an anus, that she'd need emergency life-saving surgery, and they'd be taking her by ambulance to another hospital because the hospital I delivered in did not have a pediatric surgical floor. So I was devastated. I was terrified, and I was sad, I guess you could say. But my personality, I was very pragmatic. I thought, according to everything I've Googled in the past 10 minutes, she's going to live, most likely. It's not going to be easy, but I just have to survive. So I have no control over the situation. It is what it is, and I have to make it through today. So my husband and my daughter left in the ambulance, and I stayed. I don't remember how long I spent. I spent a long time in the surgical room, and then they moved me to my own bedroom, and that was the hard part for me. Once I got moved to my own bedroom, I was on the same floor with all these new moms who were in this euphoric state of they just had their new babies in their arms, and they're feeding their babies for the first time, and there I was, totally alone. I had everything I needed for my newborn baby still in my room, but no baby. And I was getting texts from my husband as they were as they were getting my daughter ready for surgery, and pictures of her, and it was really, really hard. And so she had her surgery. During the first surgery, they discovered she had what they call atresia of the colon. So that's when the large intestine is kind of flipped upside down, separated into two, and in the middle there's like this massive tissue, and the tissue was full of infection, is how they described it to us. And the infection seeped into her bloodstream, and so she was in septic shock following the first surgery. And I was not aware until much later how really close we came to losing her. And I was, isolated and dealing with a lot in my hospital room. The hospital did not do an excellent job at providing aftercare for me. They kept forgetting my pain meds, my food, and I was in such psychological distress and so severely anemic from the blood loss, it didn't even occur to me to ask. I didn't have lunch today, I didn't have dinner today, you forgot about me. I just was lost in this primal need to get to my daughter. I was obsessive. I was trying to get up out of bed and do my hair and makeup so that the doctors would think I was well enough to release me so I could go be with my daughter. But I was so severely anemic, I was passing out on the walk to the bathroom floor, and not even worried about myself or my condition or the amount of extreme pain I was in from the third-degree tearing. So yeah, it was a journey for sure. Those 4 days were really hard. I had a blood transfusion, 4 bags of blood transferred into me, and then the following day I was released and I was allowed to go see my daughter. But I still couldn't walk, I still couldn't sit, I was just vomiting from the pain. I didn't have enough pain meds in the beginning. I had to go back on day 6 to get some more pain meds because I just couldn't sit beside my daughter in the ICU because the chairs were so hard and I was in so much pain. And just my body and my mind were trying to catch up with everything that was going on. I just remember it being like so much to absorb, but time was going so slow. Like it's so fuzzy those first few days, and I never unfortunately got that joy of my daughter's here. It was just trauma. It was much later that I got to experience the immense joy, but my birth story was a difficult one, I would say, for my journey with my daughter.